board meeting for Tuesday, July 15th. It is 6:03 or 4:03, and we are being video taped. Are we going out live?
Yes, can I?
We're going out live on the local station.
Stream into YouTube.
And we'll be on YouTube also. So, first up are administrative items, and the first is a discussion of the reuse of the old high school.
Yes, so I think Mark actually asked us to add this to the agenda item, so I don't know if you remember that. So I'll just provide some context, and we attached the most recent presentation from RGB Architects, who are the architects assigned to this project. And feel free to have a discussion, or we can move on. I've been involved in this project, taking minutes from more of an administrative standpoint. So a community campus with some municipal support seemed to be the takeaway from the big community meeting in April, where a similar presentation was pitched to community members. From RGB, the old high school kind of offers about 150,000 square feet of space to work with, and they've presented 4 options that we could move forward with. Number 1 being code upgrades to the old high school and expanding town hall with an addition to move town hall annex to town hall. So that would just be upgrading the high school and not expanding the use, but expanding town hall. That's about 26 million.
Explain that. So the people in town hall go to the old high school, or they're expanding town hall as a separate project?
Separate project, expanding town hall. So it
Right.
kind of skewed off. So it would be upgrading the old high school, maybe for potential future use, but not actually expanding that use. And the presentation goes through what kind of square footage that would give us. And I think there might be even some demolition that they included in that plan. So they've also included costs across 30 years, but the upfront cost that they gave for that plan was about 26 million. Item number 2, or plan number 2, an adaptive reuse of the whole building, no demolition. That's going to cost about $63 million. That would be moving all municipal offices into the old high school, along with the Council on Aging and some recreational activities, plus maintaining the existing use of the old high school, which has some school facilities and like an after-school day program. Number 3, the community campus. This would be demoing the hallway structures of the high school. There are 2 main hallway structures to leave 3 separate buildings, which would kind of allow for different uses. One, the old auditorium of the high school could kind of be like a theater complex. Then maybe the lefternmost side could be after-school program, recreation. The middle being maybe where the Council on Aging is. This opens up a lot of outdoor space for maybe some pickleball courts, an outdoor farmers market. So that cost was estimated to be about 68 million. Then the last plan would be demoing most of the old high school and keeping just what was built in the 1970s. This was kind of seen as a fallback option should this get voted down at a town meeting or at a special town meeting. This cost being about $23 million.
23 million?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And what does that entail? I mean, which parts of the building are built in 1970?
That's where those after-school programs are. So this is, again, this lefternmost part of the building, which is not the side where the auditorium is, not the side where the gymnasium is. It's the lefternmost part of the building. So if you're driving down Main Road towards Town Hall, it would be on your right side, the closest side to Town Hall. So.
Well, that includes the gymnasium.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that doesn't. Sorry, I'm mixing it up with the old gymnasium. Yeah, I'm mixing it up with the old gymnasium. Yep. So it does keep the new gymnasium in the old high school, which is existing as a gym. Yep. So yeah, they'd keep that gym because that's used by Westport Rec already. Yeah. So that, like I said, that one's kind of pitched as a fallback option. It wasn't very popular. What the long-term building evaluation committee decided at the last meeting was to recommend option number 3, the community campus, 3 separate buildings, to the select board. And I just want to throw one more number out, which I cannot verify, is RGB came up with a number that the existing high school costs about $1,000 a day to maintain. So that's kind of what we're up against. Yes, 68 million looks scary, but we're already kind of bleeding.
Can I ask a question on
Yeah,
the
of
community
course.
campus? Does that include then town offices moving to that building?
It does, it does.
And
So,
then the sale of town hall and the annex?
so it includes it, but it's kind of what the actual. It's kind of still not like in stone what the use would be. It's proposed. Oh, these could be municipal offices. This could be council on aging, but it's not set in stone. So
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure in the process. When would we decide what specifically the uses are going to be? I know that the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to be pitched to the select board informally with a more formal presentation given by RGB on August 4th. And then after that, we're going to try and host a robust community meeting and then potentially have a special town meeting, which I think I've talked with Chairman about this. Is that going to hold? Housing was a strong option too, but determined by the Chairman of the Long-Term Building Committee to be out of the scope of work of the RFP for the architects. And then kind of the remaining questions are, what is the staying power of this community campus? What about staffing needs, cost? These questions, they're sometimes not addressed in these meetings, but we're kind of going forward with this decision as of now. Like I said, I'm kind of new to this process, so I'm not sure what questions to be asking at times or what knowledge we should be having at what stage. So part of me is sometimes like, let's just go for it, and part of me is also like, okay, maybe we should hold the reins and ask. So I don't know. I'll throw it back to you guys. Whatever you think.
So I think I watched some of this meeting and tried to participate in some of it,
Right. Mm-hmm.
but I was the internet connection was dropped, and I believe they said RGB or whatever they're called said that the just upgrade to code was 19 million, not 23 million.
The 1970s building and demo.
No. If you're going, the first option.
Yeah,
Oh.
and expand town hall.
Yes, and expand town hall. So
That
that's
was
I
19
think.
million?
Was 19 million just for the code
Mhm.
Oh.
upgrade. And I don't know about the expansion of town hall. I think that was a separate.
That must have added an extra 7 million then. Yeah. So 19 million just for code upgrades. Gotcha. And then would we be able to use the building as is?
I think you still have issues, because then you just have a school.
Okay.
So you have classrooms and you have all the stuff that you already have.
Okay.
Just that you can use it for other uses besides education, because the code has been upgraded.
Okay. Okay.
It's been upgraded to code.
Okay.
That's the issue. If it stays education, you can still use the building as we're doing right now.
Okay.
And when I was dropped by the internet, they were discussing, they thought that there was something that they could get $17 million for the building.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
good luck. I mean, so if you sold it for nothing,
Yeah.
for anybody to use it, the first thing they're gonna have to do is come to the town and ask for a change of use, because it's an agricultural area.
Okay.
And second, they'd have to upgrade to pass code. So there's the $19 million. And then when you do that, all you've got is the same building put up to code. If you want to change it, it's one of those other options.
Gotcha.
And from my perspective, and I've spoken with John about this, is that,
John Perry.
yes,
Mhm.
and John Bull,
Oh, okay.
two Johns, and that I believe that one of the ways to address this with a community aspect is to do the community center as a nonprofit and search out large grants from some of the people around here who may be able to get. And that way, I think you could take 20 or 30 million off the table, because you're going to use it for a community center that is a nonprofit that is going to be run by the nonprofit. I just don't see how you're going to get a municipally owned community center staffed, seeing the budget problems we always have. And I think it would be in better hands
Yeah.
to do that. And the rest of it, I think you could, if you want to move these offices there, you could do that. And then the two entities are working together to upgrade the building. But I don't know what you do with these buildings.
Right.
To do anything to this building, you're gonna have to upgrade this to code. And I don't know what that would cost. I mean, I don't know what kind of insulation we have up in the attic. I don't know what kind of wiring we have. I don't know what kind of HVAC we have. Do we have the right kind of windows for, do we have the right size doors for ADA compliance?
Okay.
So, and then the other overriding issue is if you move the municipal offices all up to the high school, then you have the center of town is at the high school instead of here. And what happens to Central Village? I mean, so somebody could buy this building and use it for storage, and that would be such a terrible waste.
Yeah.
And the same with Town Hall. I
Yeah.
mean, and that has other issues. I
Yeah.
mean, it's got probably asbestos pipes and all that stuff from the 30s when it was built. So I think they got a lot of work to do, but I think that what they could do is send out an RFP for some of this work and see who steps up. And there's no mention of housing. I don't understand.
It's unfortunate that the housing conversation got tabled a little bit. It's been said that, you know, other departments can take it up, but I didn't have the capacity to head that, or the expertise, I think, to lead that.
Okay?
Yeah, I have, as Jim said, we talked a little bit about it. I'm not on the committee. I haven't attended or watched, just what I read in the paper and hear from other people. I would make a couple of comments, having developed a number of properties, some with Mark Schmidt in the Waterfront Historic District. Nothing as big as the high school, although I was involved in Durfee Union and Fall River. From my experience, and there's a considerable amount of experience here on this board, the first thing you have to look at is use, because use determines costs, determines a lot of other things. And so if you go into it saying, well, we're not sure what it's going to be used for, then you don't really know what the cost is going to be. You have no constituency because you don't have a use. There's only a constituency if there's a use. If you're going to put the Council on Aging there and they think this is a tremendous upgrade, then there's, for example, a constituency of some people advocating for it. Same with housing, or same with any other use. So the first point I'd make is that I think a lot more work has to be done on what are the best uses in that building. As Jim said, if town offices go up to the high school, it puts the town offices in a more central part of town. But what is the impact here? Now, I think regardless of town offices, Lee's parking lot is always going to be packed. There are other draws here besides town offices. The second point I would make is I've started a number of nonprofits, and it isn't easy. And the numbers that Dia mentioned are big, big numbers. The Whaling Museum right now is going on, I think, a $35 million fund drive. The YMCA, a fund drive of the similar amount. The Zeitirian Theater, similar. Those are all half of the numbers of the two middle proposals. And raising that kind of money, while there are some very able and very town-minded family foundations here, raising the kind of money to make a big dent in this is not impossible, but it's difficult. And again, I think it's impossible if you don't have a compelling use statement that really makes sense for the town. And I don't purport to know what that optimal use is. We have a housing crisis, could be housing. You know, I can see the benefits of consolidating all town offices there, but I haven't thought enough about what makes the compelling use. But if you have a compelling use, at least you've got a constituency. The last thing I'd say is that in terms of reuse of town hall and this building, both of which are occupied and not vacant with pigeons flying around inside, which is the case with some buildings that get reused. I just think of buildings like Holy Family High School in New Bedford, kind of comparable to this building and how Jerry Kavanaugh turned that into housing. But he turned it into housing because there was a financing plan that had probably 10 or 12 elements in terms of from private financing, I think it was Bay Coast, I'm not sure, but also various grant programs from the feds where Jerry used to work, from the state and from locality. So you can do it, and it's going to be a magnificent project, and every time you reuse a school for housing, it's always fascinating that some people end up living in the room they were in the third grade in, and those make for wonderful stories. So I'm not worried about the reuse of town hall. There are developers who can look at these as incredible opportunities, but they're not easy to do, so not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can do it.
And they rely on, when they do that, they rely on grants.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Tax credits, usually, historic preservation tax credits fund, what is it, Mark, about half the cost, a third of the cost of restoration of historic building?
Yeah, 30%.
Yeah, 30%, which is significant right off the bat, but then you got to do it according to the Secretary of Interior standard.
But the old high school doesn't count as a historic building. It's
No,
not,
but
it's
the
not-
reuse of this
But
building.
these guys do.
Yeah,
The-
Town hall.
Yeah.
town hall and this building are.
So the old high school's, it's not 50
Oh,
years.
it's 50 years old, isn't it?
Parts of it are.
It was
Yeah.
built in 57, 58.
I guess I thought it was 50 years for like it to be considered historical or something.
It's 50 years, you need to be 50 years old to be considered for the National Register of Historic Places.
Gotcha. Okay. And these two are definitely on that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Well, yeah, I've got a notebook here. It's a couple inches thick that has all these reports and stuff. I mean, I got involved with it 5 years ago. And they were doing a series of studies. They had a different architectural firm. I don't think they were paid as much, so I think by comparison, this most recent study by RGB is a more comprehensive, and it's kind of got more life to it, because I think those renderings of the building and how it could be reused, and
Yeah.
new windows and entrances and canopies, etc. I mean, that kind of ignites one's imagination that, yes, don't think of the building the way it is now, think of what it could be. So I think there's a lot of value to this most recent study. And they based it on a series of, when we talk about uses, you're absolutely right, we have to have a cohesive set of uses for the building. They did enumerate a series of uses that could be programmed into the building, but I mean, it's 155,000 square feet. That's 3.5 acres of floor space. So it's quite a daunting task to think how this town can afford to renovate that space, bringing it up to code. And although there are all these needs in the town, and they can be accommodated within, such as relocating council on aging and after-school programs, the recreation department using the athletic facilities and the gymnasium, and reusing the theater there for community uses, all of those things. And perhaps the school administration stays there, their offices stay there. Those are all needs that we have. In my mind, the stumbling block of this whole thing is the price tag, the cost. Because whether we're talking about this 26 million or 68 million, I have a hard time, no matter how, you may get many people who will say, gee, I'd love to see that building, we should keep it. It would be a mistake to let it go. But when you get down to deciding, are we willing to put up the money to do this kind of conversion or adaptive reuse, whatever it is, I think that's where we run into a real headwind. So what to do? I know that you mentioned, Jim, and some others about housing that hasn't been explored, but suppose the town was to put out an RFP, a request for proposals, to developers, to anyone, saying essentially, the town of Westport seeks to sell or enter into a long-term lease or sale and lease back of the old high school, and will entertain proposals from anyone for any use, any qualified purpose. And the proposal can enumerate some of these needs that the town has, and a developer could say, okay, I will take on the cost of the renovations if the town is willing to enter into a lease to lease the space back, but at least the town isn't fronting that money. So, or the developer may say, we've had experience developing these buildings into housing, whether it's assisted living or elderly housing, and that's what we propose to do with the building. And many of them, don't expect them to offer $10 million or anything. If they're offering $1, I think we take it.
Yeah, right.
Because we take that whole burden off of the town, and at the same time, we can get a use for that property.
So the people on the other side who don't want to spend money on this, say, sell it. And as I said, there's an appraisal for $11 million, I think, you probably have it in your notebook
Yeah.
there.
No.
Who's gonna pay $11 million for that, and then pay 19 just to get it back up to code, and then another 20 to do something with it?
Sell it to the appraiser.
Yeah.
I,
So if you can't sell it, the other alternative is to knock it down, and that's gonna cost $3 to $4 million. And then what are you left with? A piece of property that might be worth $1.5 million, if that, because it's got all this stuff on it.
Yep.
Maybe not even that much, but, so, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place.
well,
You
but
can't just-
has the town put out sort of a general request for proposals to
That's what they need to do.
developer? Yeah.
They need to do, and they need to say, you know, show us a plan for housing, show us a plan for community centers, show us a plan for municipal offices. And, you know, for housing, I've met with one out of New Bedford that's been redoing some school buildings in New Bedford and in the whole area. And they're looking for things like this. And they get grants from federal government and everything else, and they even spend like $600 a square foot for some of this stuff that they redo in historic buildings. And
I agree. I think, you know, before the town tries to reach in its own pocket or the taxpayer's pocket for 60 million, or 23 million, or any of these other things, I mean, I can't imagine the town meeting voting for that. But you know, the idea of partnering with someone who can redevelopment. My sense is that public entities, if they are not normally doing development work, shouldn't get in the development business because it's complicated and they're trying to learn a new task that has critical importance to the town. You know, the government needs to be the government, and there are developers that develop. And the idea of partnering with someone that has both those skills and the ability to raise money that isn't coming out of the Westport taxpayers at least. I mean, that has to be really explored in detail because it looks like the only way forward. Other than that, it's $3 million and tear it down, and you've lost whatever asset value that it has.
Do you gentlemen have like maybe a recommendation for me, or, you know, with this housing angle, the long-term building eval committee, that's something that they won't consider, but that's something that the chairman has said could be explored again through other, like, is that something maybe I could work with you guys on creating this RFP? Like, I feel like this conversation has been really productive, so I'm wondering if it should continue, or if, I guess, what the next step.
I think that all of us, or some of us, could go to the next meeting and say that we've been thinking about this, watching it from a distance,
Yeah.
but, you know, it seems like these are the key things that we need to think about.
Yeah.
And having experience with 18 years of town meetings, I'm pretty sure they're not going to allocate $60 million.
Yep.
So
And I like
the other
housing.
alternative is to, you know, try to work with a developer whose business is searching out money, searching
Right.
out things. And, you know, I think we also ought to do an RFP that says, and plus, we want this community center, which would be, you know, recreational facilities, basketball, swimming pool, weight rooms, Pilates rooms, handball courts, pickleball, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I've seen it work in Northbridge. They have a really robust community center that is supported by the community. And they have raised tons of money. They've got people's names on bricks in the whole entranceway. And you go in there, and the place is used really heavily. I mean, there's adults, there's school kids, there's seniors, there's everybody's going. They go there. It's a madhouse. And I think Westport needs a thing like that as part of this. And I don't know if you can get an RFP for somebody to do that, and then try to get a nonprofit to help you fund it over time, as opposed to. Anyway, I think, when's their next meeting?
There's no next long-term building eval committee meeting. The next thing that's going to happen is the chairman of the committee will go to the select board and present to the select board informally. So we could go to that. I forget when the next select board meeting is. I think it's 2 Mondays from, or it's next Monday, I think.
Yeah, that's Monday.
I think it's next Monday. Okay, thanks.
Do you know what the next step is after he presents to the select board? Will he regroup at a subsequent long-term building committee meeting?
Yeah, we haven't decided. I think they're going to reach out via email, so I'll keep us all in the loop. And then August 4th select board meeting is when RGB is going to present to the select board a more formal presentation, 15 minutes. So I'll keep us all in the loop as to when the next meetings are.
So I think that the next step really should be RFPs, because otherwise this committee is going to continue to meet and get nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you said that the August 4th presentation was just going to focus on option 3,
Yep.
which is what the committee chose as their preferred option.
Yes. Yes.
I agree with Jim. I think we're going to be spinning wheels again.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have a concrete thing for the select board to say, okay, this is what we want to do. Let's figure out how to do it, as opposed to, well, we could do this, or we could do that, or, I mean, you're not going to get anywhere with
Mr. Chair.
them. Yep.
In looking at their recommended campus community center and the proposed use of that in their proposal, and assuming that any development of this needs some bank financing secured by predictable income
Mhm.
from rent.
Mhm.
The uses are council on aging expansion, psychological support, nutrition programs and food service, yoga, pickleball, youth and recreation services, basketball, volleyball, sports complex, veteran senior housing, community pool, small business spaces, chamber of commerce, and leasable theater space. Now, with the exception of the housing, I don't see anything there that leads to predictable, bankable income.
See nothing.
They're all uses that are,
Cost money.
they're wonderful uses, but they're all uses that are out there asking for money to
Right, so-
meet their annual budgets. And so it just doesn't seem, as well-meaning as it is, to be something that allows you predictable income to finance any of this stuff.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, to do all those things, you'd have to increase the budget of the Council on Aging, on the department tremendously. I mean, you're talking about 4 or 5 times what their budget is now. And I know that some of the income for Council on Aging comes from donations. But, you know, to man this place with people is adding employees to the town that, in my estimation, town meeting won't fund. And you'd have to have a 2.5 override to get to a point where you could.
A what?
2.5 override. So, you know, I agree with you, John. All those things are nice to have, but it comes with increasing the budget, and I don't know where we get that from. But if you had a nonprofit with a community center, they could be a payer of rent. They could fund themselves, all the people to host this thing. But you'd need the town to give them the space for free. So, and then they fix it. But
So we're going to, when we find the next meeting date, encourage members of the planning board to attend. And I'm just kind of get a sense of our discussion here and suggest that the reuse committee consider developing an RFP for all uses, including housing, that are allowed in that zoning district.
Well, and
it would
also, we
main-
can change the zone. I mean,
Right.
that's, because if it
Right,
isn't
okay.
education or housing, we'd have to change the zone.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's possible. We need to rezone areas of town anyway, so.
Would the board want to come to the select board meeting that the chairman of the long-term building committee will informally present? I don't know if that's complicated, 'cause that's like 3 different boards.
We'd have to post it.
Okay,
So,
I'll follow up then. Okay.
okay, next. In number B, the administrative items is 202 Pine Hill Road, Westport Solar 1 LLC, file number 19-012 SP-LID-S, June 24th, 25, site visit. And is that you?
Yes. Yep, so on June 24th, I went out with Derek Mello from SW Cole on a site visit to the solar development at 202 Pine Hill Road. I'm going to review his site visit report and then go through my memo. Both of these documents are attached in your packet. And I'm just going to go through the new comments from Derek on his memo. So at 202 Pine Hill Road, the gravel access roadway to the solar array is constructed and considered in adequate condition, and the pavement for the apron is pitched towards the swale for drainage purposes. It is noted that there's no rutting or washing out of the slope of the swale in this area. Culvert crossings and plunge pools along the access roadway appear to be constructed by the approved plans and confirmed with the as-built drawing. Debris and leaves appear to have been removed since the last report. Erosion control measures have been removed from the site. Snow fencing has been removed from the site. The developer has installed a sign that provides emergency contact information as required by the approved plans. It appears that the plantings meet the requirements of the plans, and the entire site is fully vegetated as intended in the approved project plans. Moving on to my memo, I will read this verbatim. On June 24th, 2025, the assistant town planner, myself, met with contractor David Moulton and peer consultant Derek Mello from SW Cole. $40K was retained in surety for this development, with the items to address being vegetative growth, planting health, and verifying signage at the entrance, and verifying that the flared ends of the culvert crossings and plunge pools were free from debris buildup. Derek Mello signed off on the development, confirming the health of the plantings and verifying the items to address with David Moulton via drone footage. One item to note is that the tree plantings on the outside perimeter of the array have had their buds eaten by deer. Verbal correspondence with the conservation agent on June 24th, 2025 stated that this is fine and that additional plantings are not needed. These plantings aren't meant for screening. They're already well hidden from the road. So Derek Mello does recommend releasing the remaining 40K held in surety. We prepared a Form O full release to be signed.
You want a motion, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move that we close out and release the surety funds of $40,000 plus interest for 202 Pine Hill Road Solar.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, and I gave you guys all blue pens.
Oh, blue pants.
Okay, next is the Westport Route 88 Solar 1 LLC. File number 18-011 SP-S, June 20th, site visit.
Alrighty, so on June 20th, 2025, I met with Manny Costa and Manny Costa Sr. from MRC Contracting Inc. with Derek Mello, and Ken didn't get his last name from SW Cole. Ken came along because he's going to be the representative from SW Cole who will be conducting weekly site visits. This project kind of started up again after a big pause, I think like a year pause, so we had an informal pre-construction meeting, pre-meeting virtually, and then we had a site visit. There was a minor change to the approved plans. Some of the racking interfered with drainage, so an inlet structure was moved 3 feet. Hydrant seeding was expected to take place in the next 2 weeks as of June 20th. 3 weeks was estimated for the grades, with solar panels expected to be installed in August and connection to the grid in mid-fall. Chris, the conservation agent, reported that there is some extra silt fencing still present on site, which presented some concerns about road access. There's also a small gully on the southwestern side of the lot. An adjacent hill will be flattened by about 2 feet to mitigate runoff from the gully. I actually, and I'll send this over, I revised this memo. I talked to the conservation agent about this adjacent hill, and he mentioned that there's quite a high water table in the hill. So I forwarded to the developers that there's a high water table, and they will reconsider their plan to not interfere with the water table. All these changes will be reflected in the as-built, and they did not constitute a minor modification of a site plan. The as-built have been ordered. We did have to request more funding for the consultant review. That's on its way. And like I said, the Conservation Commission's agents have been forwarded, and they are taken into account as well. I don't have Derek Mello's review yet of this site visit.
So this project was proposed 6 years ago, not 2019?
Yeah.
Yes.
So are they still within or extended?
Yes.
Extension?
They have until this November.
Okay.
They have to reach at least 75% completion or substantial construction completion. So we'll check in November where they're at.
I think the planning board at one point gave an extension to this project, and then the governor extended the tolling period out for projects from COVID, I think up through 2024, out another subsequent number of years. So yeah, as Diaz said, they're okay, and they're anticipated to complete construction before the special permit expires.
This is just an update, no action required at this
Yes.
point.
Okay, next is 359 Division Road Solar. File number 22-001 SP-SPA-LID-S as-built review.
Yes, I'm still actually waiting on Derek's as-built review, so we can look at the as-built plan together, but I don't have much to say. We discussed the landscaping screening plan already together, so this is the as-built, so we can pass over this or discuss it, but I'll have Derek's review in possibly by the next meeting.
Unless somebody has something to say, I think we can pass it over.
Yeah.
if we're ready. Okay, next up would be open space and recreation plan.
So, Mr. Chair, I am the planning board representative to the open space committee. They've had one meeting, and which I was not able to attend. But the next meeting is September 3rd, and that is on my calendar. The goal of this group is to update the expired open space plan. It's going to be updated with Serped through a grant. Members of the committee include Ross Moran of the Land Conservation Trust, Dick Brewer, Sean Leach, Dana Stewart, Ray Raposa, and Lisa Feidelberg. The first meeting, they just discussed scheduling and finalizing the open space survey portion of the update. And I think there's been some back and forth on how can we all help in getting that survey out to a maximum number of people, so that we know open space is important to folks in Westport. It would be good to let them express that.
Yeah, so I think we had some discussion via email today with some people about perhaps getting in touch with Shorelines.
Yeah.
To do an article on this and promote the place where people can comment and give their...
They did distribute copies of the survey at Westport River Day, but I think this is one of the things where, we should have them at our meeting, and any place there's a chance to bring the survey to folks, we should take advantage, including Shorelines.
I think that's a great idea. I think we should have them here. It should be at select board meetings.
Yeah.
It should be everywhere.
Yeah.
Should be posted on the town's newsfeed as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who subscribe to that.
That's my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Next is a Chapter 61A release request from the planning board, and they are requesting comments on the release of land owned by Dudley Milliken and Dora Milliken for property located at 1541 Main Road, map 84, lot 7. And this is a fairly large piece of property. I've spoken with Ross, and the purchase and sale is for $6,250,000. And so I asked Ross if he had that kind of loose change around for acquisition. And he said he wished he did, but he said this property has a conservation restriction on it. And Trip Milliken was the former president of the land trust. So Ross really assured me that it's well protected. There's not much the new people can do. beyond what has already been done. There's 2 houses and a barn and a studio on the property. So they could move those things around, but it's not going to be a development.
Mr. Chair, do you want a motion?
Please.
In addition to your information, I talked to Tripp and Dora, and they said they were very pleased with the couple that's going to buy it, and they said we would all be pleased too. So I'm assuming from that there will be a Dunkin' Donut franchise there. At any rate, I move to recommend, and I'm sure the town is not going to have $6 million left over from after we deal with the high school at $60 million. So because of that, I move to recommend the release of Lot 7 from map 84 from the provisions of Chapter 61A for real property located at 1541 Main Road. And I include thanks to the Millikins for being such excellent stewards of that property for as long as they have.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh? Is this just him?
Just the chairman.
Mr. Chairman, here we go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Mr. Chairman, we did skip over an agenda item F, Granite Post Road, Mylar endorsement.
Yep.
We just need the board's signature on this. There's no vote that's necessary.
You want to lay it out? Where are the signatures? Where do?
Oh, up there, actually, sorry.
Up here,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking too. Thank you.
Do we have minutes?
Hmm?
Do we have minutes?
Yeah. June 17th.
Oh, here they are. I got it.
Thank you, I know it's an awkward position.
Okay. Next will be the assistant planner's report.
So I provided a report on outstanding projects back in April, and now I'll provide an update to that. It's a little dense. I wasn't able to give you this packet in your packet, but I did print out a copy for everybody to follow along. I'm just going to run through it. If you have questions, please feel free to stop me and we can discuss. I'll do my best. Some of these are kind of old. So Lawton Trust, Nadine was a star on that one. All the lots have been released. Derek Mello needs to provide a review. Surety held 2015 or 215,000 with $316.74 left in consultant review.
And that's not enough to do a review, is it?
No, so I guess should be
So
asking
you
for
need to
more.
contact them. you need to get a price from Derek.
Oh, okay, so ask Derek first.
Yeah, I sent that to Bob Carey.
Yep, okay.
What's the location of this?
That's Forest Park
Mhm.
for 177.
Forest Park.
It's,
177.
it's old.
Yeah.
And
It's
I don't understand why
1999,
Bob
Oh,
Carey
three.
would
2003.
pay $215,000 sitting around. But
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Next, 15006 SPA CDS, Clean Energy on Old County Road. The as-bilt's been received, the consulting engineer closed out, the bond was released in 2017. So we've got a little over 2,000 left in the consultant review balance, which should be returned to the applicant, as TEC stated the project can be considered complete in 2017. So that will be an action item there. 15009C Bentley Estates 2 on Highland Avenue at Bentley Lane. The sidewalks in the subdivision must be installed. So actually, there's an update to this already. The sidewalks in the subdivision are being installed as we speak. Robert Kifuri, the developer, was informed that he needs to come before the planning board with a modification to an approved site plan, signed off by abutters. He did not do that. He has started installing the sidewalks, but I'm working with Derek Mello on that. 194,000 is held in surety with about 2,500 held in consultant review balance.
So what is the change that has to be? Are they installing the sidewalks not as per plan?
Yes, so originally he didn't install them when they were meant to be installed.
Right.
Now the issue is there's a grading issue with the edge of the driveway of the residents and meeting the roadway right of way. So he now doesn't want to, what is it? Is it that I think it's that the homeowners have encroached into the roadway right of way, so now it's like backtracking back into that and undoing the landscaping to put in the sidewalks.
From what I understood from the was communicated to the consulting engineer was to have a crosswalk to go across the road, then continue the sidewalk, then have a crosswalk to come back. What I asked the consulting engineer to do through DIA was to see what would be feasible to continue a contiguous sidewalk on the same side of the road. There's also some landscaping that homeowners have installed that he will have to negotiate with those landowners to move it because it will obstruct the sidewalk. And we did tell the consulting engineer as well as the developer that having the sidewalk interrupted that's just not an acceptable condition.
But why did he want to interrupt it? Because he has a homeowner that's furious about
Because-
having a sidewalk?
I don't know about why, but I would assume it's because there's some landscaping installed in those areas, and he will then have to work with the homeowner to move that landscaping. But that should have never happened in the first place because the sidewalk should have been installed.
Right.
They should have done the sidewalks when they did the road.
Exactly.
When they said they were gonna do it.
Right.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's their responsibility to work that out.
And do we have enough in the consultant review balance?
Maybe for like one or two more reviews. Could ask for more. It's 2,549.
Yeah, we have enough for a couple more reviews. Yeah.
Okay.
So 18003 SP CVE North America Inc. Tuta Way, Zero Drift Road. This is a solar. So this development is complete. There's 232,149 and 21 cents that of surety plus interest that's been returned to the applicant. And then the remaining consultant review balance of about $850 can be returned to the applicant. So that's another action item. 19001C Rita Lane Extension. The road was petitioned and accepted by the town in 2024. The surety of $87,500 was released, and then the remaining consultant review balance of $1,500, give or take, needs to be returned. Moving on, 19010 SPA Watuppa Realty LLC at 25 Sanford Road. So the status: the developer thinks the project is closed out and recalls reviewing an as-built, but submitting an as-built. No as-built is located on file, so I asked for a copy to be sent over, and I also asked the peer reviewer SW Cole about what they have on file as the status and if they recall reviewing an as-built plan. We don't have any surety held, and we have $265 held in a CR balance. Okay. 20-001 SP SPA.
So on that one,
Yeah,
assuming you get the copy of the as-built,
Yeah.
that it was submitted and we just don't have a copy,
yeah,
then this would be an action, that would complete the project, and this would be
yeah.
an action item to return the consultant review.
Yep.
Okay.
Close that one out, yep. So, yeah, 549 Plaza. So the as-built in site needs to be amended with SW Cole comments from May 2nd, 2025 regarding the April 24th, 2025 site visit. I've discussed this with you gentlemen before: riprap, subsurface piping, the pavement affidavit, which has been requested, which I just talked to Mac Long today. He's still in the works getting it. They have to close some of their permits with the building. The vegetative health has to be addressed. So there's no surety held for this development, and we do have some funding left in the consultant review balance, which I think is probably going to cover an as-built review. It's a little under $2,000.
And we didn't have surety because,
I'm not sure that project had already started when I came on. Maybe it was. I don't even
because
remember.
I think it was a site plan and not.
Yeah, the project,
Site plan.
it was a site plan, and so we frequently wouldn't require any sort of surety unless we're giving the applicant like a temporary, signing off on a temporary building occupancy
Right.
permit, and then we may exchange, and for that, a surety to ensure that certain improvements are installed.
But we did that.
I don't believe so with this one.
What was this for?
549 Plaza.
The plaza on 177.
No, we didn't give surety, but we did give them before they were done, we gave them the ability to get a temporary building for them, or suggested that the building department
Mhm.
could
I
do
think
it.
it's for 3 months.
Right.
Okay. So 20-002C, 431 Fisher Road LLC, also known as Stacy Lane. So the grass growth has established. Pardon. Please disregard the second sentence. If accepted by the town, the select board would refer the street acceptance to the planning board likely in November or December. So this would be on the warrant for 2026 town meeting. The SW Cole comments are related to the pavement and roadway right-of-way, potential washing out of basin number 2, disturbance called by homeowner actions from house number 6. So, sorry, I don't know why I said disregard the comments. I thought their comments were about grass growth, which I just verified that it's established, but I guess that is about something else. We have 10,000 held in surety. 3,000 of that surety was recommended to be held, with 7,000 recommended to be released to cover that last bit of work from SW Cole, and about 1,300 is held in consultant review balance. Sorry, I kind of bumped around with that one. So that one's on its way.
The developer is planning on submitting the road
Yes.
to town meeting for acceptance.
Okay.
21-001 SP SBA LIDS Miles Solar / Ironwood Renewables LLC at 0 Horseneck Road. They've got to submit an as-built. Their special permit expires April 2027, and we need some comments from Field Engineering's final review in February 2022, and the conditions.
That's Mayo Solar?
Yeah.
That's not up. That's Horseneck Road. That's not.
Yeah, I didn't think anything would happen.
Nope.
It,
That one is not up at all.
it's not up at all.
Nope.
So what does that mean?
It hasn't been built.
Yeah. Okay. They still.
They don't have any,
They-
they don't have any solar panels up. Nothing has been done to that property.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that
So
statement.
that that development was, they appealed our decision. Not they, but, the neighbors.
The neighbors,
across the street.
yeah.
And a butter appeal, and then I saw a certificate of no appeal also in the file. I saw both.
They, so the lawyer appealed late.
Okay.
Mhm.
He didn't,
Spell our names correctly.
well, he called us the zoning board.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he also did not file with the town clerk in a timely manner,
Okay.
the appeal.
Okay.
Even though you do it in court, but you
Yeah.
have to give a copy of the appeal to the town clerk within 21 days.
And you
And
did.
they didn't do
Okay.
that.
But it
And
held?
They appealed,
Okay.
so that it went to court,
Okay.
court threw it out.
Okay.
He appealed that decision,
Okay.
and the court threw it out.
Oh, okay.
And then he appealed that decision,
Okay.
and the court threw it out.
Okay.
So I don't know how much of they're not getting this done was because of that, or
Gotcha.
if these neighbors are still talking with them about
Gotcha.
selling them the property instead of doing the development.
I'll say this, the most recent thing on this is their lawyer saying our special permit lasts till April 2027. So seems like they tried to get that on lock. So,
So the surety is only $10,000 if held. What does if held mean? We don't know whether we have it.
no surety held. $10,000 for Stacy Lane, but jumping down one, there's no surety held for
Well,
Ironwood.
this on Fisher Road, it says surety if held $10,000.
My bullet just sometimes says if held, but yes, 10,000 is held for Stacy Lane, with 3,000 recommended to be held for the completion of the roadway right of way.
Oh, I see, I'm sorry.
No, you're
My,
good.
my mistake, my mistake.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah, surety if held, so there's not a surety for this project?
Yeah, Ironwood Renewables, no surety held. Yep.
Okay.
About 3,000 in consultant review. And so with them, getting their lawyer to talk about the special permit expiring and saying, it's extended for us, we've got till April 2027, that makes me think that they're still trying to work on it
I think there's still,
in litigation.
I think there's still discussions about not doing it
Okay,
for money.
okay.
So, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible.
I'll see if I
It could be that
can.
they're just, the interconnect business is not so straightforward.
Gotcha,
So they have to get permission from the state and from Eversource
gotcha. Okay,
to do the interconnect, which requires them to probably change all the telephone poles
oh,
on Horse Neck Road.
okay. And I think these guys are based in Louisiana. So when I called them, nobody responded. So they might just not, they might have some other things going on. Yeah.
I'm sure they have stuff going on
Yeah.
everywhere.
I'll see what I can find out then. Okay.
Okay.
Moving on, 359 Division Road Solar. We kind of just talked about this. The as-built has been received. Reseeding will occur in September. Minor ponding and settling basin it was stated to be purposeful to accumulate fine materials in the basin instead of discharging to wetlands. So that was brought up the last time we discussed 359 Division Road and the subsequent site visit. The planning board, you'll notice that there was ponding and standing water, and so I asked the developer, why is there some standing water in these basins? And I guess it's intentional to accumulate those fine materials. So everything seems to be functioning as designed. No surety held. Consultant review balance just under 1,500 here. 23010C Inheritance Lane. They're in this construction phase. We need an as-built from them. They've filed with the registry. We still hold on to their surety of $65,550, and we do have a consultant review balance of just over $4,000. We need a final review from SW Cole, but that's more than enough to cover that in the site inspection. Salty Breeze, I just connected with Brian Carney, 23032 SPRM SPA. We need final plans from them. We need a review from SW Cole. I need the as-built. A review is needed prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit. From Brian, there were negotiations between the original property owner and the developer. So as of 3 weeks ago, the plan is to continue moving forward. He's rallied the team, and his best guess is that within the next 60 days, they should have a new set of plans to kick over. There might be a different ownership structure as well. I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but I believe their special permit also expires April 2027. No surety held, consultant review balance of $3,900.
Have they started any construction?
No, okay.
No, because we still need final plans from them.
Oh, right, 'cause we
So
still need
building
final plans,
shouldn't
right.
issue a permit until we get final plans.
And do they have permission from the state? Do they have a license?
That I don't know.
I can ask. I didn't see that in conditions of approval, but that's just they need permission from the state.
Well, it's a.
Yeah, it's a
given.
dispensary, so
It's
they
a
have to get
marijuana place,
Yeah,
so-
yeah, gotcha. But we wouldn't put that as a condition. That's something they just have to do.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Quarry Ridge, 23035C at 265 Cornell Road. I reached out to the person assigned to the case and got the last court transcript. So this is what it said. It was an appeal by an abutter. The last conference was between the attorneys was a video conference on July 10th, 2025, with the parties discussing recent communications and document exchanges and deliberating on the 4-lot subdivision. The plaintiff has received documentation but has not had time to review or identify their experts. The defendant does not anticipate any pretrial motions on standing. The parties discussed their efforts on trying to resolve the matter short of litigation, with several different scenarios having been explored. Some options require some further public hearing before the planning board. Some do not. The court has ordered the parties to file a further joint status report on or before August 11th, 2025, confirming that the fact discovery is complete and, if not, a new proposed deadline not to exceed 30 additional days without good cause. The report should also include the status of the parties' settlement discussion and whether they are making constructive progress. If constructive progress has not been made by August 11th, the parties should include in the report the dates they are available for a pretrial conference in October and for a 1 or 2 day trial in December. Keeping in mind that the expert disclosure deadline will be 1 month prior to the pretrial conference date, so ordered. Prior to the endorsement of a definitive subdivision plan, an HOA and a performance guarantee must be established. No surety held for this development and just $755 held in a consultant review balance.
I talked to town council about this one last month. They are working towards a settlement where the appellant would get be able to access their property from the subdivision road that was proposed for the Quarry Ridge Estates development. So it may need to go back to the planning board for approval, as Dia had said.
So, remind me, was this a rural residential lane?
I can't remember if it was a rural residential lane or not. It was
believe it is.
4 lots, so it may have been,
Yeah, I think it was.
But this was the one where there were two similarly situated properties with narrow laneways that provided access to the developable area. Yeah, it's the Desjardins were the abutters who are the appellant. But these narrow laneways provided access to the developable areas on both of these properties. So instead of potentially having 2 laneways, rural residential lanes located right next to each other, perhaps through the settlement, they'll gain access through the rural residential lane.
So I think you need to remind, to look it up and make sure that what we approved was a rural residential lane, because it's been some time.
Yeah, it has.
You can only have frontage for 4 lots on a rural residential lane.
Mhm.
And if they're suggesting that they're going to develop on a neighboring property with frontage on that lane as opposed to access, that's probably won't fly.
Mhm.
So,
Understood. We'll see what they come out with the settlement. I'm just
so our town council's being kept in the loop because we're sued too. I mean, we were,
Exactly. So she's there really just observing. She's not defending the town's
Right.
decision.
Shall I move on?
Yep.
So 24-004 SPA LID Sunrise at Souls Way, another solar development. The LID and special permit, solar special permit will expire March 2027. There are a number of conditions of approval that must be adhered to. An as-built is needed and may require an updated drainage calculations at the discretion of the board. The surety has been returned with $1,400 held in the consultant review balance.
So this is done except for the as-built?
Yeah.
It's completed?
Mhm.
20.
Schools Way?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either.
Yeah,
I think
even.
that's the one that we were talking about today, that it wasn't built, and the guy came in this morning.
Yeah, no, sorry, it's
That
not.
one's not built yet. Tootle Way.
As built is needed. Sorry, as built is needed.
No, it's not even up.
But it hasn't been built, so you can't do an as-built.
Right,
Right.
that,
Oh, so
that one hasn't been
Mhm.
built either.
but final plans we have, right?
The Schools Way?
Yeah. We
no,
sent that guy.
yeah, for Sewell's Way. It's the second one up there.
It's the second one. Yeah.
And we have the plans that we approved,
Yeah, we have the approved
but
plans.
if they haven't done anything,
It's not built.
There's nothing there.
When's their expiration?
March 2027.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. Yeah.
So you just need to be back in touch with them for scheduling a pre-construction visit.
Yeah. They're radio silence on their end. Which is crazy. Okay. So pre-construction, yeah, I've done that to a couple of these guys. Okay. 24-023 SPA LID SWEB Division Road Solar. They withdrew without prejudice. Andrew Hamel will let us know what the applicant wants to do regarding next steps. They'll also have to work with conservation to delineate wetlands. No surety held. 3,400 held in consultant review balance. We're holding on to it in case they refile. Otherwise, we'll return it.
I think we should probably just return this one
Oh, okay.
at this point, just because it's been about at least a year or thereabouts since they withdrew this application. Nothing has transpired so far. I feel at this point it would be better for them just to submit a new consultant review balance.
In a new application.
And yeah, right.
Moving on to Francis Estates. The Mylar needs to be signed after the surety is established. We've requested a construction schedule, the Form E1 and the Form P from the rescission, and the Form C1, Form P and decision are ready to be filed. It's not currently on an agenda. Surety isn't yet established, but was estimated from MBL to be almost $3 million. It's to be required upon project. Surety is to be required for the roadway upon project approval, and we hold $2,700 in consultant review. Listen.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is there any update on, just out of curiosity, on Marcotte Lane? Has that started? You know, the one on Drift Road?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're very familiar with that one. That is slated for construction soon. The developer is going to contact us for a pre-construction meeting, but we haven't been contacted so far. Last time we talked to someone was, it was when one of the subdivision's designers came into the office, I think about 2 weeks ago. So that is forthcoming sometime soon.
So with regard to that, we need to send another memo to the select board in saying that we need to have the safety commission implemented. It's required in our town bylaws. And that would be to deal with the site triangle,
Mm-hmm.
where the neighbors have put up a spike fence in the visual field of the site triangle. And there's also vegetation that's in that triangle that should be removed unless they can prove that the vegetation was there since 1957. So,
We will resend the letter that we sent to the select board.
That was the project which my colleague, Mr. Bullard, so eloquently described as a subdivision that looked like it came out of a pasta machine.
Mr. Chair, can I just make one comment?
sure.
I'm really appreciative of this summary. It's like a cold case file, you know,
It
cleaning
is in
up
some-
old cases. And thank you for doing that, because it's a lot of work. And it does get our books in order. And I think the impact on the local economy when we release all the consultant review balances that you've recommended will be significant.
If you could answer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I mixed up the solar a little bit here and there.
Well, we have a lot of them. So, okay, planners report.
Today I met with the Southeast New England Program Network, or the SNEP network, to talk to them about their stormwater assistance program. And I talked to them about 3 different projects, but I only talk about 2 because they told me that 2 of them were better fit than the third one. So I talked to them about the need to do an analysis of the town's salt marsh flats, and also talked to them about replacing the culvert at River Road and Herring Run next to Cocky's Pond to right-size that culvert and also allow for the herring to be able to better migrate into the pond. And they said that the SNP team, they're a bit more interested in the marsh flats issue, which we have talked about a lot with this board, because it involves the new permitting process and the initial inputs to begin this sort of analysis could be replicated elsewhere in Massachusetts where it would also be needed. And this is something that the chairman and I had considered advancing a grant application for a couple of weeks ago. But in the grant materials, they really wanted a more project-ready application. And that, I think, is challenging for a lot of smaller communities that don't have the staff capacity to do the initial inputs of scoping out a project. So I think this would be a good start to have that initial analysis that we could then use to propel forward a grant application through DEP later next year.
So in anticipation on that grant that we had been talking about, basically after looking at it, you said you didn't have the time or the resources to put it together. I met via video conference with people from the Watershed Alliance to see if they could help, and they had on the line some of their experts that worked on previous studies of the marshes, and they wanted to do a grant application that would include more experiments. And I think I expressed my frustration with 20 by 20 experiments or 2
Right.
foot by 2 foot experiments. We can experiment it to death. There's a million reasons why marshes disappear. If you don't deal with the fact that the ocean level is rising and drowning the marshes, and that was one of the outcomes of the Buzzards Bay
Gooseberry study.
Recently, and they reiterated that the marshes are not accreting at the rate that the sea level is rising. And I said, yeah, we need a bigger thing. We need to do a whole marsh. You know, we need to get some dredge material that's appropriate. And maybe it's not thin layer, maybe it's thicker. I don't know. Thicker is probably the way to go today because it's just rising so much. So they said they didn't have time to pull that together either. So, but anyway, they were focused on more experimental things.
Right, right. Well, this would be a good opportunity to start to conceptualize that and work out what some of the costs associated would be. And then maybe we don't go and apply for a grant because the costs will just be so insurmountable that it's not something the town would be able to put up the match for or that a grantor would be interested in. But at least we've done the initial analysis to make a determination of whether it's worth our time. And right now, I just don't think we have that information available to us.
So the Federal Bureau of, or the Massachusetts, I forget what they call themselves, but there is a federal match section of the state thing that helps with matches for things, and they have $700 million in the bank ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be shy because we think we can't do the match. We might be able to get the match.
Right.
Question about
Mm-hmm.
before you make any sort of movement to, I think what are you talking about covering up a marsh with some sort of soil material? Is that what you're talking about, Jim?
Usually dredge.
I'm sorry,
It's
dredge
usually
material.
dredge material.
Which will completely, well, it'll look like,
It depends on how much you put on.
it'll
But
look like
I-
it's dead. It'll basically like destroy it. It'll look like that. I'm sure you say it won't destroy, it'll help it, but it'll completely look like then what, a mud flat?
It may look not pretty for a few years until the stuff starts growing. You have to plant stuff too.
So,
And so there's places where they have done this and with some success. The issue of using thin layer, you can do that, but the marshes on the West Branch are in such pitiful shape. I'm not sure that thin layer, unless you do it repeatedly every 2 or 3 years for a while, is going to help.
we don't really know if this would help or not, do we? Also, what steps are we taking to keep people from going back and forth, speedboating it? You know, I would think that that would not be helping the marshes either with all the agitation. If you decide to proceed to try to find funding for this project, what do you call this stuff? What's the actual term for what you're talking about? Spreading the
Thin layer deposition.
thin layer deposition. Will that be something that we can talk about at a town meeting, or is that something that you will decide and then?
I think we would, if we apply for a grant, then we'd get the money, and if we had to do a match, it'd have to go to town meeting to do the match, I think, usually.
And what we're talking about doing right now is really more of a feasibility analysis and not even getting into the engineering and design of implementing a project. So we're getting that base level information, like I said to Jim, to decide on whether or not it would even be worth the time for the town to pursue.
Okay.
So, I mean, even Buzzards Bay says that the island marshes in the West Branch will be toast. I mean, they'll be gone. So you'll have mud flats where you think you have marshes now. I live high up, similar to you, but a little higher on the river. And you can see the diminution of the amount of marsh we have every year now. And Also, the marshes disappear instead of, once a month at a new moon tide, they disappear several high tides per month. So they're drowning, they're disappearing.
Well, it's a very dramatic solution to this. Anyway, I'm very interested.
I don't know of any other solution.
Well, and have we taken any steps to stop people from going so fast right next to the
Constance, I think that's only where the motorboats are going when they're, there's a channel there and they go right next to the marsh and they go today with motorboats instead of like a old whaler that would skim the top of the surface with hardly any wake. They plow through the water now and make a big wake.
Especially if they've got skiers behind them. And
The wake isn't going to hurt the marshes away from the edge. And the marshes are disappearing in the middle. And so when we have northeaster storms on the West Branch, you can see the waves created by the northeaster deteriorating the marshes because they're susceptible to it. And there's all kinds of studies, research on marshes, and there's all kinds of experiments that the watershed has done and the Buzzards Bay has done about, well, what's happening? Do we have more tidal flow? Do we have more or higher tides higher now? More frequent? And somebody from EA Engineering said there's all different, so a marsh is a biological entity and it has all these different organisms and everything that make the marsh. There's peat, there's bugs, there's snails, there's everything is in there. And the grasses. And you can have problems with that. You can have problems with any of those things. But if you don't deal with the sea level rising faster than the marsh can accrete, it doesn't matter if you find that this marsh is being impacted by X, Y, Z, if you don't also help raise the level of the marsh, because it'll be gone. So,
well, let's just hope that the cure isn't worse than the disease. You never know when you start messing with
you
stuff
never
like
know. I'm not suggesting we do all of them. I'm just suggesting we do one and see what happens. But, to do more experiments, they, for a long time they thought it was the extra nitrogen in the river that's the problem. And they've done experiments and shown that it really is not. So, not the problem in the marshes, it's the problem with algae in the river. But, so,
Would you say this is same thing is happening in the East Branch?
to a lesser extent, because you don't have as many island marshes. So, if the marsh is attached to the land, the theory is as sea level rise, the marsh migrates inland, right? And the problem with Westport is you have a lot of steep banks, so the amount that you can go inland is like a foot or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It's not as if in some parts up in the North Shore they have these huge expansive, and in Marion they have them, and down closer to the tip they have these big expanses that are close to land that isn't very steep, and I think they could do that. But anyway, they've done this on the North Shore, Constance. Senator Bruce Tarr he's a big mucky muck at the State House, and he's gotten money for his communities up there to do this. We have been unable to do it around here. I don't know why. They do it in the Chesapeake. They've done it in Narragansett Bay. They do it extensively in the Chesapeake. And sometimes, you know, the problem is that it's in once doing thin layer deposition is not a permanent fix because sea level's still rising. So you have to be able to do it multiple times. So anyway, we've got to move on. But who knows if we'll get the grant. But at least we have the opportunity. So go ahead.
The next update is also on a SNEP network program. They are helping us do a Westport River headwater stormwater plan. And let me get to my notes. So I met with the project team yesterday, which is SNEP, SERPED, and the town. And we are looking to have a consultant start analyzing the headwaters of the Westport River watershed to prioritize areas of concern for stormwater runoff and pollutant hotspots. And then what we'll do with the results of this is then once that analysis is produced, is to then prioritize areas for either some sort of protection or green stormwater infrastructure. And so we selected GEI consultants to help administer this grant. And one thing I think that really pushed them over the edge over the other folks who submitted a response to the RFP was that they're going to develop a very basic hydraulic model of the areas or for the dams in the watershed. And that's something that we've talked about as something that's needed through our hazard mitigation planning, as well as through the municipal vulnerability program. So I think we were really happy to see that they were proposing something, that they came in and proposed something that hit multiple town priorities. So we just gave them the notice today, so there'll be more to come on that in the future. But.
Good. For Serpent, they formed a new environmental committee, and one of the things I've done is look through the whole Serpent area, and there's 27 high hazard dams in the Serpent area. I don't know what that means. Does that mean that if it in fact ever breached, it would be a high hazard? Or does it mean that it's a high hazard, you better fix it? So.
It's a high hazard now. And that's primarily what's immediately downstream. Most of these dams are old. A lot of them have mill dam origins, and they have, since they have small spillways, so they can't carry away the water.
You can't release it when there's a big
and almost all of them are earth filled. And so the last thing you want is the water running over the face of an earth filled dam, because it erodes that, and then you get the large dam failure.
So.
And I did speak with Paul Ferlin in Fall River. He did say that they are looking into what ecologically what would be best for the Noquachoke Pond Dam, the one that's right on Route 6. So that is something that they are exploring in Fall River, but we'll see what they come up with.
We also have Forge Dam. And the Forge Dam, I think, is owned by Fall River too.
Yes, it is.
And that's talking about old. I mean, that's old. And that's an earthen dam with a stone spillway. And downstream is the head of Westport.
So Forge Pond is one that I've gotten some conflicting information about because I've had some folks say that it's privately owned, and then our consultant on the hazard mitigation plan said that it's actually owned by DCR, and they gave me the dam number for it.
DCR?
So
Even
I haven't-
though it has a dam number, a DCR dam number,
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean that it can't be either privately owned or publicly.
Right, no, but I am gonna follow up on the record, but they said that it was owned by DCR, so I'm not quite sure about that one.
I know the Buzzards Bay Coalition has looked at Forge Pond. I understood it was privately owned
Mhm.
by the people who own the industrial building and who very much want to keep that dam.
That's what I've heard too.
And so, but checking out, it should be straightforward about who owns a dam. Should be.
Guess not. Evidently not.
And what's amazing to me, I think that Fall River owns Forge Pond.
I think so too, yeah.
And if they own the pond, why wouldn't they own the dam?
I don't know.
It just,
A lot of damn questions.
All right, Dee.
I don't think the owners are going to give a damn.
Yeah.
They can roll it.
I'm here all week.
Well, while we're on the similar topic with the hazard mitigation plan, I have an update on that too. The committee is finalizing recommendations in the hazard mitigation plan, so I'll be circulating a draft mitigation measure matrix with the Climate Resilience Committee, as well as the Planning Board. We'll need to get comments incorporated over the next week and a half, and then once we send that back to the consultant and they incorporate those comments, they'll share it with department heads just for a final check, and then we will get we'll get a draft plan from them at that point. So that's forthcoming.
Related to that, some of you were here at the Climate Resilience Committee meeting on July 10th. We didn't have a quorum, so we didn't take any actions, but we did discuss how the hazard mitigation plan and the plan being prepared by the members of the Climate Resilience Committee and the emergency response plan, which we think exists but needs to be updated, how all three of those plans fit together. And I wrote Fire Chief Dan Baldwin today. I copied you anyway, Michael, and our subcommittee chairs. So Bob Daly would have gotten that too. Asking the chief if he would attend our next meeting, which is October 16th, so we can have some discussion about these three plans, have some overlap, they have different purposes. You hope that they reinforce each other and don't contradict each other. So how do we go about making sure in either the updating of the emergency response plan or the development of hazard mitigation that all these plans are supporting one another?
The emergency response plan, which the fire department's calling the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan, has been drafted. They're still doing their own internal review. The fire chief told me that they will be circulating that with department heads for their review. So that is also,
Okay.
we have a number of these plans
Yeah.
that will
Right.
get out to the public here soon.
if I recall from meetings with CZM, having the hazard mitigation plan it gets us on a list that we're eligible for other grants.
There were other grants that were available, although they're coming from, the grants were passed through from FEMA to MEMA.
Yeah.
And so some of those grant programs don't exist anymore. For example, the BRIC, the Building Resilient Infrastructure grant, that has been cut, and there were some funds that were being passed through FEMA for that. So that is no longer in play. There may be other grant programs that end up being cut. I don't know. Well, once we get that, so when we get this plan endorsed by the select board, it'll be sent to MEMA and FEMA for their approval, and I think at that point we'll just have to assess what's available.
Okay.
Next is an update on our barrier beach management plan. Woods Hole Group is going to be continuing public engagement in support of finalizing that plan next week. So on Wednesday, July 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m., there will be a meeting at the Westport Grange. And the purpose of this meeting is to present findings on historical trends, means to slow the rate of erosion at the barrier beaches, recommendations for best practices of management of those beaches, and then modeling results under various nourishment and other management scenarios. And they'll present the associated costs for those. This particular presentation will be focused solely on the results for East Beach. There will be a subsequent meeting that will focus on Atlantic Avenue and Beach Avenue. That is still yet to be, did we get that one scheduled the other day?
The Atlantic Beach.
Atlantic Avenue and Beach Avenue. That one is forthcoming, but the East Beach one is next week on Wednesday.
Can you repeat the time and the date?
Yeah,
6 to 8 p.m.
on
And-
Wednesday, the 23rd.
Yes, Wednesday the 23rd.
Where is it again?
Grange.
The Grange.
Westport Grange.
When will we hear about the next meeting?
Let me check my calendar.
One for Atlantic and
Yeah,
East and Beach Ave.
I think we got a tentative date scheduled for that. Let me see.
Could you, if you don't have it on hand, could you please email it to me? I haven't seen anything about even this scheduled meeting go out yet to people that are on the mailing list.
Oh, this we just finalized yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
So we'll get some notices out. We haven't scheduled the Atlantic Avenue and Beach Avenue one, but if you're subscribed to the mailing list.
Yes.
Okay, so once we get those scheduled, we'll have Serped send out a notice about it.
Can I ask you when that would be?
I don't know when it's
Oh,
going
I
to.
thought you said you had a
No,
date.
I thought we had a tentative date, but it hasn't been added in my calendar yet, so I don't have one.
And how did the public meetings, the last public meetings go?
Last public meeting was a site visit, so we went to each
Right.
one of the beaches, and they were pretty well attended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was a site visit, so we were there to talk to people about what their experiences were on those beaches over time, how things have changed. To talk about, we talked about the history of the plovers on those areas and how there are, I think, 2 nesting pairs right now down there on Atlantic Avenue. Yeah. And then we went over to East Beach and walked up and down the beaches, but it was incredibly windy at that time, and it was kind of hard to hear people, so we actually didn't stay there for too long. But we did have a number of folks come down and give us some feedback on how the town has been managing the overwash and storm events, after storm events.
Did you find anybody on Beach Avenue
Anybody on Beach Avenue?
to talk to?
There were people there. We actually saw some of the there have been folks who have reported that people back into the dunes, and we did see someone in a truck with a trailer hitch. The trailer hitch went into the dune, and pulled the sand out and stuff. Constance was there you went to Beach Avenue for a little bit. And so it was mostly the folks who were already at Atlantic Avenue came over to Beach Avenue with us. There were some people fishing and some people coming down to the side where they're not supposed to be driving their cars, and we were staring at them, and then they turned around and left.
That happened a couple times. So.
Yeah, it happened a couple times.
Okay.
But no one who was at the Nubble or the surrounding area came over to talk to us. So.
Some property owners were
Yep.
Yeah, there were some property owners in the neighborhood as well.
I thought they were your friends, too.
What?
I thought they were also your friends.
Oh, yeah, well.
Are they?
Down on Beach Avenue,
Yeah? Those are your girls.
I picked up this handout on the way in. Did you do this, Michael, or on the
Serpent and
Serpent on
Woods
Barry
Whole
Beach
Group. Yep.
Management?
It's strong.
It's out there. What?
It's strong.
All right, and then some discussion about our Route 6 neighborhood plan. After the project team met with the planning board a couple of months ago at the last work session, we just met with Serped this afternoon to reorient some of the project areas because the planning board had asked for the project area to be modified a bit. And so we're now going to include most of the area between 195 and Route 6. And the next step after they reviewed the modified project area was to, or the next step is to start doing community engagement this summer, to start developing community preferences on commercial and residential development types, and to see what other long-range issues are a concern for residents in those areas, such as stormwater. That's a common one that comes up. We all know that there are issues with stormwater on Route 6. And so the purpose of this project is really to see what the community would support in the foreseeable future that we could turn into zoning updates for the form and siting of new housing, the function of new commercial development, and to do this in a way that it can be supported on septic, and if it ever moves forward, on sewer as well. Obviously on septic you're not going to be able to achieve the same sort of scale of development, but to have a code that could support the more desired types of development in the corridor. So one thing I wanted to ask the board about is the inclusion of the STOD in the study area. And what we're thinking about for this project is to have a more incremental, small scale sort of change that would be reflected in the zoning code. And with this area, the STOD being largely undeveloped, having some zoning code recommendations in this plan could create a very significant change in character. As you know, there's only been a couple of developments under the Science and Technology Overlay District. So there's the potential for the change altering the character. And we could always use recommendations that come from some of the surrounding areas and apply that to the STOD, so it's not to preclude it. This area also has a vision in place, I think, that the planning board has formed a number of years ago when it was rezoned. And so we want to focus on some areas in the Route 6 corridor that don't really have a long-term vision for development. And so we were thinking to leave that area out of this analysis and just focus on parts of the Route 6 corridor that did not have that sort of future long-range thinking in place already.
So, what I'm thinking is that we all know that the ownership of that property may be changing.
Mhm.
And the question of rezoning it in ways that would allow for development that might be more enticing to a builder than 40B, so that we would have some control over what happens. And I'm not sure that just leaving it as is is going to be the appropriate thing to do. I don't know. But I think that the vision that we had years ago when we suggested the town meeting adopt the STOD was based on the realities of that time.
Mhm.
And some time has passed. Things are changing quite rapidly, economically and population-wise here. I don't know if we should just leave it, but I think we should
So you're
think
you're
about it.
thinking about potentially changing the vision that was created back when this overlay district was formulated.
I think the vision was super, but it required the landowner to participate in the process, and apparently he didn't want to do that, and just thought that developers would come knocking on the door and give him something. You really have to put an RFP out or go solicit those people that would be building that kind of thing. As we talked about with the high school, you can't just think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what does everybody else think? The overlay district is really for science and technology centers, and the thought process was that, you know, like with Meditech and the incubator from the university there would be a great thing. It's real close, and you've got the highways there, you've got ultra high-speed internet going by on Route 6. That it would be a great opportunity to get some commercial development that was not obtrusive to people. I still think that's a good idea, but I'm just worried that the landowner is probably going to not solicit this kind of stuff and just sell it to a developer. And the easiest thing for them to do is do a 40B. The sewer's right there in Fall River, and it's not that far away. They could pay to get it in there, and you could get 1,000 units in there.
Mr. Chair, I think, I don't think that housing and science and technology are necessarily contradictory. I totally agree with you that looking at this opportunity to tweak the zoning that we've had in place to make housing development or multifamily housing development permissible in a way that it's not a 40B being shoved down our throats
Right.
makes an awful lot of sense. I think the the science and technology may be that we were ahead of our time. I spent 2 or 3 hours this afternoon at a Blue Economy Technology Forum, co-sponsored by Blue Ventures and the New Bedford Ocean Cluster, which I'm on the board of, at SMAST in New Bedford, which was about marine technologies. And it was standing room only. And a lot of the people there were businesses that had been elsewhere that were locating here because of marine technology. And I was kind of amazed. You know, I thought the number of marine technology companies you could count on one hand and have a few fingers left over. But, you know, there were 150, 200 people there, and I think it sold out. So I think that the technology market may be something that hasn't existed, but is rapidly expanding. And you know, we're at SMAS. This is in partnership with the university, which is on Old Westport Road. So I think the vision of science and technology is appropriate, and we shouldn't give up on that. But I also think that it's not inconsistent to think of mixed use with housing as well.
Well, that's why it's an overlay district.
Yeah.
It's not,
Right.
but I just wonder about, you know, the people trying to sell this property for the owner. I think that Warren Messier is the owner of most of this, and what his vision was a 400-unit subdivision.
Yep.
And I think when he's still talking to the real estate people who are trying to help him, that's the one thing that keeps on coming back, even though, you know, his faculties are diminished. And I just think that would be, we need housing in the whole area, and I'm just worried that the state's push for new housing will obliterate whatever we try to do. So,
It might be better to do it first.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
If you make it,
And I think, depending on how we craft the language of making it easy to get what you want. So,
Right. Yeah.
The idea of having these are permitted uses as opposed to all special permit uses, and that we have to be careful how we craft that language. And also, if we have to do that, we really need to develop a plan and campaign it, because there's at least a significant portion of the anti-sewer, anti-water vote has not been that they don't want water, they don't want the growth.
right. They don't want the big box stores they don't want what happened to
Big,
Dartmouth. to happen
big
here.
box stores is a fallacy. No one's, you know, there are a few rare examples, but pretty much the malls are empty.
Right.
You know, no one's gonna come and put in
At North Dartmouth Mall or Northwest Mall. But, you know, I think people are wanting things to remain the same. They want housing that's affordable. And those two things, not too compatible.
They are in conflict with one another.
If you look at rezoning this area to enable more housing, and you still want the area to attract science and technology, I feel if you make it easier to build houses there right now, that's probably going to be more likely what you're going to get in that area, because you can still build. I mean, you can't really build dense housing with no sewer, but you could build, somewhere at 20, 30,000 square foot lots. You could potentially start to get that in this area if that's how it gets rezoned. And then you might be attracting those science and technology uses. So I guess that would be my one caution, is if you make it easier to build housing in this area, that might be what you get, as opposed to some land uses that will help generate substantial tax revenue for the town.
I think that's very likely. The market for housing is more certain than the market for technology space.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Are we good?
So
So
I
do
think we'll leave it up to you to come up with some magic words.
Think about that.
Okay.
Okay, minutes.
Mr. Chair, I've read the minutes of June 17th. There wasn't a lot of action going on June 17th, but I found the minutes to be accurate and comprehensive, and I would move approval of the minutes of June 17th, 2025.
Second. Any comments, edits? All those in favor?
Aye. Want a motion to adjourn?
I assume that would be appropriate.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.